Have you ever received a bill and wondered why there are different charges for what you think is a simple service? We'd like to take a few minutes to explain the different charges and billing structure of your local cooperative, Capital Electric. But to fully understand how the delivery of electricity works, let's first talk about the difference between kilowatts and kilowatt hours. A watt is a measurement of the power an electrical device uses. For example, a 100-watt light bulb consumes 100 watts of power, and 10 100-watt light bulbs consume 1,000 watts of power, or 1 kilowatt. If those 10 100-watt light bulbs operate for 1 hour, they would consume 1 kilowatt hour. That's the difference between kilowatts and kilowatt hours, time. Kilowatts is the measure of instantaneous electrical energy, or demand, and kilowatt hours is the measure of total energy consumed over time. Another identifiable way to think about kilowatt hours and kilowatts is filling a tank with water. The total gallons you fill is similar to the kilowatt hours consumed, and the gallons per minute that you pump the water is similar to kilowatts or demand. You can fill the same tank slowly or quickly depending on how many gallons per minute or demand you want to dedicate to the job. Prior to May 2023, most Capital Electric residential member bills had two main parts: the monthly base charge and the usage charge. The monthly base charge is a fixed amount that covers the fixed costs to operate Capital Electric. Examples of these costs would include taxes, insurance, generating and mailing bills, as well as the employees that work to energize homes and respond to member concerns. The second part, the usage charge, is a variable charge based on the total kilowatt hours consumed in the month. The hottest and coldest months of the year normally require higher kilowatt-hour consumption to operate furnaces, air conditioners, and irrigation pumps. In May 2023, Capital Electric implemented a new rate structure with a third part, the grid capacity charge. The grid capacity charge is calculated on an account's peak demand over a rolling 12 months. Each account's potential peak demand is evaluated in the design and construction of the electrical grid. Higher demand accounts require larger transformers, wire, and capacity from the substation to the ground. Capital Electric is required to build and maintain poles, lines, and transformers to meet the highest potential demand from all our members combined. With the implementation of the grid capacity charge, costs are distributed more fairly as the members who demand more capacity from the electric grid pay accordingly to that capacity. These three bill components are fundamental to aligning Capital Electric's costs and revenue. But none of these components addresses the fourth variable of when power is used. And the when is very important. 42% of Capital Electric's costs are determined by only 6 hours throughout the year, referred to as peak periods. Capital Electric is billed monthly for its demand within these 30-minute peaks, and that's where a large portion of our power costs occur. These peak periods are often the coldest 30 minutes in a winter month and the hottest 30 minutes in a summer month. Starting in May 2024, Capital Electric will be adding a fourth bill component to align with these peak periods. This charge will be referred to as on-peak demand. During peak periods, an electric clothes dryer operating for 30 minutes can result in approximately $100 of on-peak demand charges to Capital Electric from our power supplier. The on-peak demand charges passed on to our members will be a fraction of that amount, but this fourth component will help put into focus how important the when of electrical use is. Each account will be billed this fractional charge based on their portion of the cooperative's on-peak demand period. The on-peak demand charge will be higher for accounts that require more power during the 30-minute peak periods and less for those who don't. To help you avoid these on-peak demand charges, Capital Electric will be sending out email and text notifications of expected peak times to residential accounts. To make sure you receive these notifications, please enroll in SmartHub and verify that your email address and cell phone numbers are correct. Also, the on-peak demand charge will not be applied to heat meters. Fortunately, there are many ways for an account to reduce their on-peak demand and grid capacity charges. By taking steps to decrease your on-peak and grid capacity consumption, you'll be able to reduce the impact of this new rate structure on your account. For tips on how to reduce your on-peak demand and grid capacity charges, check out the next video.